One of my favorite things is having mothers message or email the app saying, "Hi, I have two daughters. She's 27 and she works at this clinic. Can you find her a husband?" I'm like, not how it works, but I love that. You've won. You've made it when the mothers are coming to you. When the mothers have approved the app, you made it in life.
Mother approved. Welcome to a new episode of Community in Arabic. I'm super excited today to have Leila Muhaizen. Leila is an Arab American who lives in LA. She's the founder and CEO of Baklava. Baklava is the first social and dating app for Arabs and Arab Americans. The app is a worldwide app. Currently has 230,000 users. And we're so excited to have Leila with us today. Hi, Leila, how are you?
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, we're excited for the chat. So as a start, before we dig in, tell us a little bit about your background, your immigration journey.
Okay, I was actually born in Jordan for a hot minute, and then I moved to Lebanon with my family. My mom is Lebanese, and I grew up in Lebanon my entire life, up until I graduated from AUB, American University of Beirut, in 2016. And I moved to the United States, and I landed a job in commercial real estate, very basic corporate America life, thought I was living the American dream until COVID hit and that market flunked. And I had to move on to something else. And that's when I decided to come up with Baklava. It was my first time having the creative space and mental space to do something that I actually wanted and not what was kind of expected of me from my family and society. So that's my journey in a quick hot shot.
Nice. And Leila, how was the transition from the Arab world to North America? Tell us a bit about the initial time when you came, and how did you adjust to the new environment here?
It was actually very easy because growing up in Lebanon, you are exposed to a lot of the Western culture. I mean, I grew up watching things like Gossip Girl and listening to, like Akon and Usher, right?
Yeah.
So coming here, it was like more of the same. I did struggle a little bit with social interactions when I first came here because I was afraid I was too different, not realizing that everybody in LA is from all over the world and even more different than I am. So I remember like going into my first networking event thinking, oh my God, I have an accent. They're going to like pick on me. Little did I know that people there barely spoke English altogether, right? So I felt like, okay, not too bad. I was okay. I survived that. So it was more of like the rules and expectations that I had put for myself and not so much what people were thinking of me. At the end of the day, it was easy. It was fine. I definitely struggled in the dating scene, but we have some time to get into that a little bit later.
Nice. And Leila, you mentioned corporate America, the pandemic, and what inspired you to start Baklava?
A very unfortunate time when I decided to start Baklava. I had lost my job August 1st of 2020 because the company just went bankrupt. They couldn't keep any employees anymore. And then August 4th explosion happened a few days after. And that really shattered me. When I lost my job, I said, okay, well, maybe it's a good time to go back to Lebanon, spend some time with my family, lay low. And then next thing you know, like 48 hours ago, there is no home anymore. And that was a very, it's just something that your mind cannot absorb. You cannot understand such like a huge tragedy happen to you. And all I wanted to do is give back to Lebanon in any possible way. I clearly suffered from survivor's guilt. Why me? Why is my family there? Why was I not there? It should have been me. And I went down that destructive mindset. But then I decided to do something a little bit more constructive with whatever I was feeling. I just felt like I really needed to be surrounded with my community, Lebanese people, fundraise, do anything I could possibly do in my to just help rebuild what was destroyed. And so this was when I started seeing, do I actually have any Lebanese friends here? Do I have a Lebanese presence in LA? Am I just completely alone? It felt like it. And then so I started like going on Instagram pages trying to see like if there's any get together, any fundraiser happening in my area. And it was really hard to get in touch with anybody. And so my friend and I, who during lockdown, LA had a very strict lockdown, so we would only be able to communicate with our neighbors in the building. And my next door neighbor happened to be a programmer and UX designer. And he said, "Oh, maybe I can help you like create an app where you can like find each other." I was like, "Oh, that's genius. We should totally do that. We should like create groups and fundraise and send that money to Lebanon or something." And then when we actually went to the drawing board and like started connecting the dots and what can we do with this app, it just like the possibilities were endless. It was like, oh, we should also make it for friends, we should also make it for dating, we should also make it for everything. And then it became, no, let's make this into a relationship app for all Arabs because we're all in this together. It's not just Lebanon, right? It's also
Yeah.
Syria, it's Palestine, it's Iraq. It's literally every single Arab being has the same struggle that I'm having right now.
Amazing.
So we went with it. We launched it. It was for fun. It was only for fun. And 2 years later, it's my full-time job.
Wow.
Wow, this is, yeah.
Nice. So, you started the app, and then have you had any experience with other apps when you looked at it and you're like, okay, this is my inspiration for what I want the app to look like or what I want the app to not look like?
So I've always been very in tune in the tech industry. We're very fortunate here in California to have Silicon
Exactly.
Valley, the Bay, and obviously Silicon Beach down here in Southern California. So I'm very in tune with the trends of how the tech community works and what's new with the apps and the trends. And so I was a very active user on dating apps. I was mostly, I would say, Hinge because it aligned more with what I was looking for. And so I was envisioning something like Hinge. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it.
We are, yes.
But it has like a clean, modern, sleek, no crazy, not overwhelming, no crazy features. And I thought that baklava should look like something similar to that, but it has to have a Middle Eastern touch, has to have like an Arabic flair to it. And so I decided this app has to be me. I thought of this app as an extension of myself.
Yes.
So I took basically what I loved about my Lebanese culture, my Arabic morals and values, and put that into the app. And so if you open the app, you'll see that it almost personifies an Arab person.
Yeah.
This app could be a person of the way it was designed and created. And everything there is literally like hand designed. Every single word was like proofed. And I had groups with Arabs from different countries because Algerians are different than
Of
Egyptians and
course.
they're different than Lebanese. So I had a group of everybody like give me feedback and input so I can come up with the best lines possible that every single Arab can identify with. Because I realized that being Lebanese is not representative at all of the Arab world. And I remember coming up with the prompts. I would say like shuya jagal, and then I would say the same sentence to a Moroccan, and they're like, "Are you even speaking Arabic?"
Yeah.
Yeah, that's there's a lot of sentences. You speak to a different backgrounds. It's really different. My wife is Moroccan, and it's a whole new language. I had to learn Arabic from the start. So yeah, I totally feel you.
What do you think is the biggest differentiator of Baklava compared to other dating apps that are out there on the market today?
So the obvious one is Baklava is an Arab app. It's not for worldwide for every single culture or background or country. It's not meant for that. It's designed for the Arab diasporas. And it's also welcoming to anybody who's interested in the Arabic culture. As you said, there are some Persians, there are some Greeks or Turks, because we have so many common values in the Middle East and we kind of like take a little bit from each other. And then what's really nice is I've noticed that there's a lot of non-Arabs joining the app because their best friend is Tunisian or they grew up with Egyptian nanny, or
Yep.
it was like they were introduced to the culture at some points in their lives and they loved it so much and they wanted to hold on to it. And that makes me really happy because I felt like we've lost that narrative since 9/11. and we were never given the chance again to like share our beautiful and abundant culture with the world.
Exactly.
We were just stigmatized for a long time. So I'm really proud to see that so many non-Arabs are showing so much interest in our culture and wanting to be part of it. So that's obviously the number one getting tongue-tied here.
Distinction.
What makes us special.
Yeah.
Number two is baklava is religion agnostic. And I intentionally made it that way because the Middle East has way too many religious wars, way too many religious,
Exactly.
racisms
Yes.
and people hating on each other. And I did not want to bring that into the app. The app is for Arabs first, everything else comes later. And if you have a strong preference, then you can express that in your bio, on your profile. But I will not let you filter people based on their religion. That to me is a hard no. I will never change that. As many emails as I get of Leila, add a religion filter, I'm like, then you're not in the right place.
Right.
This is meant to create a huge community of everybody, not of Muslims, not of Christians, not of I don't know what. That's not the purpose of it. There are religious apps, and maybe those are better fit for you, but that's not what Baklava is about.
Yeah.
And it's really dangerous when you see the younger generation adopt the older mentalities of the civil wars that we've had in our countries, the Muslims against Christians, and then you hear them speak with the same language that our grandparents spoke. That's not good. That's a really bad sign that your society is not growing. They're not moving.
We're not evolving.
To a more
Yes.
and accepting culture.
Exactly.
And coming from Lebanon, this is huge. We had a 25-year war between Lebanese people, Christians and Muslims. So I know my app is not going to change the world, but I'm going to do what I can with my little steps, little things that I can do here and there to help.
Nice. So, like you said, there's a lot of different, backgrounds of Arabs, and religion is one of the things where people would like to filter on. What other ideas that people come to you with and say, oh, you should filter this or filter that to fit their own background or their own personal needs versus what the offering is?
I think besides religion, which is usually the number one ask, I get sometimes, can you be more rigid with the distance preference? And it's really funny because I feel like, do you not know that you're the immigrant in this country? You're not in every corner in the city or even this neighborhood.
Right.
Like we're not white Americans who, your next door neighbor is going to be another American. Like you're probably not going to find the next Arab until like 2 neighborhoods down or another city. So I would love for my members or future members to keep that into consideration, that Arabs are very spread out throughout the entire United States and the world, and we're not present in every single pocket. And if you limit yourself, you're going to miss out because there are so many wonderful people living on the East Coast and you're on the West Coast. I'm like, so what? Get on the flight. Get a vacation in New York City.
Right.
Like go have fun with it.
Yeah.
So I would love for people to like approach it in a more adventurous way rather than, oh, I want to stay in my comfort zone and I want to date my next door neighbor, because that's just not going to happen.
Right. That's funny actually, because a lot of people would fly back home to go and meet people. I'm like, you'd fly back home and you wouldn't drive 2 hours to I don't know where, or like fly an hour to meet somebody.
There you go. Leila, when we first heard about the app, the name is super fun, Baklava. I'm really curious to know about the inspiration behind the name.
Yeah. So in the Middle East and in Lebanon, we like to use dessert names to refer to loved ones. Like we'll say shuya asal, shuya halwa, shuya ashta. But these tend to be a little bit more vulgar. So I wanted something cute, something easy on the tongue, easy on the ear, but also like has that like sweet reference to it. So I thought baklava would be great because I'm not calling anybody asta.
No, that's fun. That's fun.
That'd be fun. Well, to dig a little bit deeper into kind of like dating apps overall as a concept and then the user experience, when we were doing our research, there was a Wall Street Journal report that talks about dating apps and the experience. And they were reporting an increasing dissatisfaction of users just across the board with using dating apps and saying that, a lot of people dating became part of their persona. They became the dating app person, and they're always on from date to date to date, and they always have that dating story, which is fun, but then they're never looking for that kind of commitment. And then there's a lot of stigmas that are associated with, being on dating apps. So, what we want to do now is we have 5 different stigmas that come up very often when you talk about dating apps, and I'm sure that you've heard, every one of them. So we're gonna bring them up and then get your take on them. Do you agree or disagree with the stigma? And then what are your thoughts on it, and how do you guys address it as you think about the app and develop the app? So the first one is, dating apps have made it very easy to meet people, but have made it very hard to find a commitment because everybody's on the pursuit of the next relationship.
Yes and no. So yes, because I've been in that position where oh, what if there's somebody better? What if I just swipe one more time? I'm going to find somebody even better. But at some point, you're going to end up going on dates with these people, and then you're going to know what works and doesn't work. So it's just that simple. Maybe the next one who was better looking was not really that funny, or maybe the one that I went on a date with the first time was a little bit too stingy, you're gonna find out eventually where it works and doesn't work, even if you're choosing the prettier one or the richer one, So I think when it comes to that, it's not as complicated as this Wall Street Journal was making it. It's simply you're gonna end up meeting them and you're gonna make that decision for yourself.
Okay.
And commitment wise, that's really just a person's intention. If they're not ready and they just want to have fun, nothing is going to change it, whether it's in person or not in person. Yes, maybe having a dating app would make him indulge more in going on dates and having more flings rather than commitments. But if the other person has consented to this, then who are we to tell them yes or no, right? Because dating apps are for friendships, hookups, real relationships, marriages. It's for however you want to use it. So I think that would be my answer.
Okay.
Now, stigma number 2, especially in the Arab communities here in the US and in general, fearing judgment, people will hide some of their interest or some of their habits from dating apps. Meaning, if they drink, if they smoke, if they, what's their preferences, religion. So in general, would you agree that there are skepticism and towards being judged, being on social apps and dating apps?
It's interesting because I've had the complete opposite experience where when I've met somebody in person, it was so much easier for them to hide a lot of their personality and their behaviors rather than on social media on social apps, because when you're creating a profile, you're getting asked a lot of these questions. Yes. And maybe you want to say I drink sometimes, but you maybe drink every day, but you're still answering these questions. While as when I've gone on a date, an in-person date with somebody I met, let's say at a restaurant, I didn't find out that they drink heavily until 3 months into the relationship.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So, so I would say the hiding can go both ways, but I will always choose, if I get the 2 options, I will always take the dating app because I'd rather know as much as possible about them, even if it's a little bit skewed, rather than not know anything. I just met you at the restaurant and I'm starting from complete scratch. I'd rather have that safety net of knowing, of having I know where you were born, I know where you went to school, I know what your intention is, I know if you drink. I don't know if that's completely true, but fine, I'll take it, and then you can find out in person.
Yes.
So again, there are easy solutions for this. My recommendation would be stick to the dating apps.
Okay. Well, stigma number 3 is dating apps promote a culture of superficiality where people are all about the looks. You try to create a persona through your pictures that doesn't necessarily reflect your life. And so when you meet somebody in real life, you're like, okay, this is not necessarily what was portrayed through the app. What are your thoughts on this?
That is true. That's a correct one. I'm not going to argue with it, because dating apps are based off of Instagram, to be honest. You pick the prettiest pictures, you show the best parts of your life, and you're a glamorous, gorgeous person on paper, right? And then you meet them in person, he's a little bit shorter than when he said, oh, she has a few pounds more than her pictures. I'm very aware of that, and it's real. Catfishing is real. What I recommend doing is getting on a FaceTime call with them before committing to an in-person date, And that just takes away a lot of the ambiguity. You even can decide whether you like their voice or not. Because sometimes I have this thing, like if somebody doesn't have an attractive voice or like they're gorgeous looking, but then they have a squeaky sound coming out of them, I'm like, I don't know if I'm into this. I'm glad I got on this call.
Okay.
That's funny.
Okay. Number 4, dating apps promoting the hookup culture, and that's why a lot of people they opt out. That I don't want to be associated with. I'm on the apps just to hook up. Thoughts?
Luckily, Baklava does not have that reputation, and I partly believe it's because it was founded by a woman, a Lebanese, an Arab woman,
Okay.
who you would just think immediately does not portray hookups.
Mhm.
And I present it to myself in a way where I am all for relationships and getting to know each other in an authentic way. So, yes, maybe dating apps like Tinder, of course, but also Tinder prides itself in being like a hookup app. That's their selling point.
Yeah.
Hinge has a more selling point of the app to be deleted because they want you to get off the app. They want you in a real relationship. So it's really very clear through the app's intention. They're not trying to hide it from you, right? And I think Baklava does a really good job with just saying this is an app for authentic relationships among Arabs. And if you're not looking for a serious relationship, there's nothing wrong with that. But we don't call it a hookup. We refer to it as a friendship. And like I said, as long as there's consent, and it might just really be a friendship. And if you consent with that person that you want to turn it into friends with benefits, that's okay, that's off the app, that's on you guys. But we try to stay away from that term because it's not really it doesn't really reflect what the app is about.
Do you guys look at these, and before we move to the last one, do you look at these as design challenges? Like, what can I do to keep the user on the same profile as long as possible, to have them invested in their profile, just to not allow it to become more transactional?
So you're saying retention rate for users?
Yeah, like what do you guys do when you're designing the app or looking at different features? What do you do to keep these things in mind and say, okay, what am I going to do to allow the user to spend more time, be more focused rather than swipe through so many profiles, and to really put effort in their profile versus doing the absolute minimum just so they can get to the swiping part?
Understood. Okay. So the process of approving a profile to get on the app is by itself enough so that the profile is decent and complete so that it's acceptable for it to be displayed to everybody else, to everybody on the app. So you can't move to the next step unless you're uploading the minimum amount of pictures or completing your bio or completing those prompts. So you won't have an incomplete fake looking profile. If you made it to the app, then you were good enough to be on this app. That's number 1. Number 2, we don't allow more than, I believe, 7 or 10 swipes a day to control people. I'm going to say control their urges to keep going for the next and the next and the next. And then we do things like a lot of promos and offers to just keep encouraging people to become premium members, and then they get more features to have a little bit more benefits and control who they get to see and how they get to showcase their profiles. And I think that gives them a little bit of like an ego boost, like, oh, if I'm a premium member, then I'm going to be shown to a lot more girls and I'm going to get more exposure. So, but that's also very like it comes with time. You have to build that loyalty and trust with the user. So when they get to a point where they're ready to become a premium member, that's when I feel like the app has accomplished its goal of retaining the user long enough for them to have the best experience possible.
Okay. So our fifth and last stigma that we'd like you to address is the fact that dating apps are not safe. Like you said, there's a lot of catfishing, and there might be a opportunity for harassment or even like a physical threat when people go out on these dates. So do you agree or disagree that this is an issue, and what do you guys do to make sure that you're portraying as much feel of safety as possible for the user?
So Baklava is extremely strict when it comes to these security measures. It's a woman-founded app, and I, more than anybody, understand the threats of having a woman exposed to so many different men at the same time on the same platform,
Mm-hmm.
you know? So I personally will filter every single profile that signs up, and I'm talking like thousands. It's like my morning newspaper and my evening book, my evening reading. You know, I'll go through all the profiles, make
Wow.
sure they're all. It is an automated process,
Yes.
but I feel like I need my human eyes to approve everything, even after the AI has done its job.
Okay.
And so, because I take this very personally, like this is my, as CEO, founder, I run the operations and all the other stuff, but this is so important to me and I will never assign anybody else to do it. And it will continue to be this way even when Baklava is like multi-billion-dollar company ready to sell it to Match.com or something.
Wow.
And I think because I give it so much attention and I'm very vocal about it, people trust the app and they trust it because it's founded by a woman and I understand their struggles. And I always, when I get an email of like some threat, they will hear it personally from me, not from like customer support. Like I will personally reach out to them to understand what happened and take action. Nothing goes unnoticed. No email goes unanswered. And there were some like cases where like, oh, this guy asked me for this and this and that, and then how to deal. I'm like, I will always be in your court. Like I will never question a woman's claim because most of the time they're the ones who are unheard and everybody's turning a blind eye because oh it's the woman, she said that one. The guy is saying no, that I'm going to take the guy's side. So I always give the extra attention to women, especially in our Arab communities. And when it comes to catfishing, that's really hard to get by through Baklava because we have a very strong AI that detects basically there are like three things. If it's using a VPN, if it's using this country code, if it's using this phone number, that's an auto ban, and it's 100% like fail proof.
Wow.
It's excellent. I have excellent programmers who were able to come up with this. So I think Baklava is, luckily, I'm gonna knock on wood right here and be all superstitious about it, but we've been very lucky with keeping the community very safe for women. Women, specifically women. This is a very safe place for them. And I understand their struggles. This is why, like, this is no joke. It's otherwise Baklava would not be where it is. We have excellent quality, high quality profiles. Like if you go on the app, you'll see for yourself that there's no weird looking, like what is this creepy guy doing here? What is this like woman trying to sell me something? You just won't have that experience on Baklava because it's very personal.
So Leila, moving forward in the future, that's a three-part question. First, tell us from your perspective, what are the trends that you see in the online dating industry overall?
So I'm seeing some movement towards people wanting to meet each other outside of just engagements or marriages or dating intention. And I've been really curious about this because I found a case on Baklava Besties where a girl was able to get a job through meeting another bestie.
Oh.
And that made me really happy. And I thought, I want to capitalize on that. And I've noticed there are other, like Bumble has it. And then I know like Raya has something similar where it's like top tier entrepreneurs who can also like complement each other professionally. So I would say they're paying more attention to what you can also offer each other as a power couple and not so much also just as a romantic couple.
Nice.
So I would and that also as in also like friendships or relationships. So part of me is like toying with the idea of doing Baklava Business, and it's like a place where Arab entrepreneurs can get together and help each other out, whether they're like fresh out of college and seeking like an experience or an internship or like a starting position somewhere. And you know, Arabs love to help each other out, especially us living abroad. I mean, I remember when I got my first job, I'm sorry, but not a single American said yes to me. I had to go find the Lebanese guy.
Wow.
Right. Yeah. You know, actually, through our network with Chicago in Arabic and New York in Arabic, and we were talking about this before, the number one feedback that people come back with is you should create more social circles. A lot of people say you should do a dating service, which is just not what we do. But a lot of people say you should create social circles for people to find friends, find business partners, work partners, connections, find other Arabs in your city. So it's really interesting that it's the same kind of feedback for a dating app. that people would want to go and like find, you know, a business partner or something. It's interesting.
Yeah, my second part of the question was to like what features are you looking to add, but you already answered it. So you're looking more to expand towards like social slash business and then social slash friends, right? Like on top of.
So we already have the friendship
Yes.
mode, and I would like to start incorporating more of like a LinkedIn place
Yeah.
on Baklava. Like there's
Yeah.
a page and it's a feed, and it's like people matching based on their entrepreneurial ideas or what they're interested in.
Nice.
That's more down the line. I would
Yeah.
think I would start working on that in by next year. But right now we're actually working on what we haven't launched this yet. So I guess you guys are hearing it first from me, the announcement. We want to launch a new membership tier called Baklava Legend, as
Okay.
in if you're legendary, you get on the subscription.
Okay.
And it's what it is if it's if you're looking into somebody who is more of in another bracket of income, of career, of lifestyle, and that's kind of where you want to be. Like that's where you want to go. So it's for, physicians like yourself who are interested in meeting maybe other physicians because you're going to click with them more. Or if you're selling your tech startup to Microsoft and you're retiring at 30, maybe you want somebody who's also in that mindset. So we're calling this Legend because it's for legendary
Wow.
Arabs.
How do you verify though? Like the claims.
So it hasn't launched yet. It's
Yes.
still in design phase,
Yeah.
but I'm sure we're gonna come up with a process
Nice.
to vet through applications. So this would be by invite only or by they
Oh,
apply
nice.
and we have to review their
Okay.
application. It's not just open for everybody. It's a little bit more refined.
That's really fun. Nice.
Okay. Yeah,
Nice,
that'll
nice.
be fun. Well, you mentioned this a little bit is, there's a lot more than dating that can happen on all these dating apps. And you call it a social app, not necessarily just a dating app. So, we're talking about this. If you notice in the past months, Instagram and Facebook and a lot of the social media apps have been moving away from showing you content about your friends and your family and more into like this reels and third-party videos and all this stuff. So it's becoming a lot less personalized. And there's a lot of talk about dating apps filling that gap where you can go find friends, meet friends, expand your friends network on that dating app. Do you see this being the future of dating apps years down the road, or is it coming soon, or is that just too far-fetched?
Well, like I mentioned before, dating apps are based off of Instagram because you're literally looking at pictures and captions. That's what dating apps are. So already see it being there. The intention will always be different with dating apps. You won't go on a dating app other than the intention of I really want to meet somebody, or whether it's a friend or a significant other. The thing is, okay, Baklava, when you create a profile, you have the option to link all your socials in there. So you will meet more friends through Baklava and you will have more followers probably at some point. I don't really see them taking each other's places. I think they're just going to continue to complement each other. Not really a strong opinion on that or strong trend that I'm seeing.
Okay. So you wouldn't see, for example, a married person who would go there to find friends and it's completely socially acceptable for them to be on Baklava because they're seeking friends and this is not a dating thing for them.
I mean, you could there is a section only for friendships. You never have to the relationship would be turned off. But to be honest, I just don't see that as like the main driver of anybody who's joining a dating app. They're gonna be curious about what's on the other side of this app.
For sure.
The lure
Right.
is too strong to ignore it.
Curiosity
So I
kills the cat.
don't and you.
No.
I'm making excuses for him,
No.
I just honestly would I say if you're single and you're looking for a significant other, then have both options turned on, because that way you're gonna meet a friend and then you're gonna meet a significant other. But if you're really in a committed relationship and you're just, I'm just downloading this app to find a friend, who are we kidding?
Okay.
Leila, you're in the middle of your entrepreneurship journey. We're really rooting for you here to explode and exit one day, and would love to get your advice and your feedback to young women and newly immigrants, people coming to the U.S. seeking to be entrepreneurs. Would love your advice to them.
So my first and most important advice is to get a mentor who understands the industry you want to get yourself into.
Mm-hmm.
Don't try to make I'll make mistakes and learn along the way, because you will waste so much time and you will make mistakes that would have been easily avoided if you had a mentor. I had an incredible mentor, and he walked me through the entire process. He's done it 1,000 times. He's exited. He knows there's a success roadmap, fail proof. You don't need to fail if there's already an established way for you to follow that will make you succeed. And I'm not saying, okay, I'm like a millionaire now because I followed this roadmap, but at least it's taking you in the right direction without having to fall into too many ditches along the way. So I would say LinkedIn would be your best bet, or word of mouth, or that's what I did. I literally just went on LinkedIn and found somebody who is American Arab. It's, again, that connection is undeniable. Once they see that there's some Arab aspect to your profile, you're gonna hear back from them. So I would really use that tool and leverage it. Number two, I would say, is know your team. Know the team that you're getting yourself into, or the team you're hiring, or the team that's hiring you. Make sure there is harmony with your personalities first before the business. If you don't get along with them, the business is going to fail. So make sure that whatever partner you choose complements your skill sets, emotional and mental, before you get in any sort of commitment with them. Do not sign any contracts until you go in the trial phase. I think I would, those are two things that I followed myself, and I've seen good results, and I really recommend that anybody who's getting into a fresh start in a fresh industry to follow them.
Amazing.
Okay. Well, before we move to our last section, would love to ask a little bit about the business side of the app. This is a pretty saturated market. It's very competitive. There's apps for everybody and anybody, regardless of their religion, ethnicity, whatever it is. There's a lot of specific apps nowadays versus going to like one of the generic ones where you find you kind of like a broader pool of people. So how do you guys feel about this growing as a business, and how do you feel about where you stand in the market? And I know you mentioned that you guys are a global app, so you're operating in Europe and the US and all over the world. How do you see the growth of the business side of it?
So Baklava is special because it's looking for a niche market. It's not meant to target the entire world. It's meant to target Arabs of the world. So we know our market, and our market knows us. And one thing to be very clear about is, and this is very true with men, they don't have one dating app on their phones. They have Hinge, Tinder, Bumble, and Baklava. And that's very common with men. So even though I'm competing with them, I'm still getting the same mental space in my users, with my user. I'm still getting my share of the market.
Yes.
And also what is special about Baklava is, because it's for the diasporas, and the diaspora, sad to say, but it is the truth, they're the ones who have the capital to subscribe to memberships. It's not the Lebanese person right now who's struggling to buy bread. It's the Arab American who is a full-time employee with an income and benefits, who is able to keep up with my app. So this is why we focus more on the United States, number one, Europe, number two, specifically Germany, which was a complete surprise for me. Summer of 2021, Baklava was the number one most downloaded app in Germany.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It beat WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram. I woke up one day and it was the best day of my life. It continues to be on the top charts. So I found myself in an unexpected market, but I jumped on it. I capitalized on it. I have a bunch of influencers who are in Germany who represent the app, like app ambassadors. And so I followed the dough, I guess. I just saw where the money was coming from and I capitalized on it. And as much as I would love to be more present in the Middle East, unfortunately, there's no capital there and the resources are not strong enough for me to sustain operations in the Middle East. So I focused more on the North America and specifically Germany and Europe.
Okay, that's interesting because actually you're following the path of immigration in the past 10 years. There's a ton of people that went to Germany, specifically Syrians. I think there's 1 million Syrians that went to Germany, so obviously there's a big pool there, and a lot of people that came to the US of our generation, and now they're looking to kind of like meet each other and create relationships. It's great. So, moving to our last section, we have a quick fire round for you. First of all, what motivates you to keep going day and day and keep growing the business?
It's the success stories, the emails, the DMs, the texts that I get of I met my future husband. We're getting engaged. We're having our wedding in Egypt. Please come. You're invited. And I'm like,
Oh, wow.
yes, I'm gonna go buy the dress right now. Just the satisfaction and how like it humbles you to know that you were able to create a family. You created a strong unit, and that these people are gonna have homes together and they're going to have children, and to know that my little app that started from like a little studio in LA in the middle of the pandemic did this is just incredible. It's so profound and I'm so proud of it, and I want to do this forever. I just want to be Cupid for the rest of my life.
Yeah. Nice. Well, what's the specific moment that stands out, or you'd say it's the best moment throughout your journey with Baklava in the past few years?
It was probably the first email that I received about a success story, and it was she's Palestinian living in Maine, and he's Egyptian living in Hawaii, in Honolulu.
Oh, wow. It's the farthest 2 points on the map.
And this is where you really understand that distance does not matter when it comes to your significant other. I'd rather meet somebody who's on the other side of the continent than settle for somebody because he lives next door to me. And she reached out to me on Instagram and she said, I'm shook. I can't believe that I met my soon-to-be husband on your app. We would love for you to come to our wedding. It's in Jordan, and we're gonna like serve baklava at the wedding, and it'd be a huge thank you to the app, and we want to show the world what you did for us. So that was the first one. The first time I literally just like I could not believe myself. It was just I was mind blown. And then after that, more and more started coming in, and I one of my favorite things is having mothers message or email the app saying, "Hi, I have 2 daughters. She's 27 and she works at this clinic. Can you find her a husband?" I'm like, not how it works, but I love that.
That's a feature. Have somebody nominate somebody else to find a date.
I know I should start like a concierge service. But you've won. You've made it when the mothers are coming to you. When the mothers
when they
have approved the app, you made it in life.
Mother approved. Yes.
You're endorsed. How would your friends and family describe you in one word?
I don't know if it's a good word. I would say discipline. Very disciplined.
Okay.
Unwavering.
Okay, great. Well, at the end, what are you excited about moving forward? And, where would you like to see yourself in 5, 10, 15 years?
I am excited to meet my significant other on Baklava when the time comes, and say that, hey, look, if it worked for the founder, why wouldn't it work for you?
Exactly.
Wow, awesome. Nice.
That's a full circle.
That's a full circle.
Yeah.
Well, Leila, thank you very much. We really definitely enjoyed the conversation with you, and we'll be rooting for your success and, for the growth of the app and for all these people out there trying to find their significant other.
Thank you for having me, and I'm going to go on the back end and give your profile a good boost.
Okay.
All right.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Good luck, Leila.